Are we next to each other on your view?
No.
All right, put us next to each other. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Munson Steed. I'm joined by my co-host, Terry Shropshire, the first King James. We'd like to invite you to join Rolling Out News Report. This is a very detrimental situation that we find our community in if we all don't participate and love one another. It is important that we don't allow the community to divide itself in small things. There is a big picture here. It is important that we not judge members of our community who might be protesting in a manner that we do not understand. Terry, what is the temperature? The DC mayor has painted Black Lives Matter on the streets of DC on the way leading to the White House. How would you gauge the temperature of this social uprising in our country?
Yeah, that's an interesting move. Most interesting concept taken on by the mayor of DC um, in a city that is run right now by arch conservatives and extreme right wing politicians. And so I imagine that there's going to be some pushback, some very wealthy and influential conservatives who are not pleased by that leading down to the White House. It's like an affront to their sensibilities. And so I imagine that there will be some type of uh, very pernicious response by someone from the Republican Party or even from Pennsylvania Avenue in regards to that. So the temperature remains, it's ratcheted up a few more degrees, even more than it has been in the past week because of that simple gesture, because they're going to take the position that white lives matter or all lives matter, and that the DC mayor is taking sides and is advocating for blacks instead of for all people. And so I can see that coming already.
Well, DC is still chocolate city right now. Clearly, we want to make sure that our community respects the phenomenal sisters who are leading cities around this country. You literally have the mayor of Atlanta, Mayor Keisha Bottoms. We have Lori Lightfoot in Chicago. We've got the newly elected sister in Ferguson.
Yes, suburban St. Louis, yes.
So we want to really make sure that we encourage, but this is Black Music Month. So we want to also celebrate those individuals who are here and who are making a difference and are able to bring us forward. We've got Marcus Johnson joining us this evening. Why don't we welcome Marcus to come on and have a discussion that is both healing and soothing at this moment, Terry?
Yes, absolutely. Let's bring them on right now so we can go ahead and gauge. There's a lot been going on these last couple of weeks or today. So yes, welcome, Mr. Johnson.
Hey, how are you doing?
Come on, man. You know, we need a little healing. We're all protesting. I'm really working hard to motivate education amongst our community, not to judge so hard on our community. I think Trina got drugged for trying to judge and truly. How would you describe it, Terry?
Man, she got dragged from one end of cyberspace to another for her imprudent comments regarding the protesters. And then when she came back with an apology, it wasn't really an apology. And it was a rambling, blubbering speech that she gave on radio. And so she's been canceled by a large swath of the Black community because of her original comments and then her lackluster apology. So her career it's definitely in trouble because she needs the fans to keep a radio show going and also to keep her on Love and Hip Hop Miami. So her career is in peril.
Yeah, just having less judgment as it relates to looters in our community. Like we don't understand desperate moments and the desperation that is bred in an oppressive society. Lack of judgment, call it what you want, but just judging it all, just let it pass. It's part of the movement. It's part of what happens. We understand it, and it's part of their plan. So I don't.
And it's part. I mean, I tell you, it's hard to balance. I mean, you all know I'm in music. I'm also a lawyer and a business development professor. I taught at Howard. I taught at Georgetown, Linfield. Spoken all over. And so for me, it's part of the continuing balancing act that we have to live with as activists in this place, who can't run from, as Du Bois said, we can't run from the veil. So, we have a different life structure that most people just really don't understand. And so it's hard, man. It's hard to really, there's one thing in saying and having a response and a bad response, and then the other saying, in a positive way, hey, look, there's other ways to look at this. There's other things to do. Make sure that, you're doing what you can to build your communities. But, I'll just say it is very difficult right now to balance. I mean, I did a post today related to the structure of the music industry and what I've seen. I also own a wine brand and what I've seen in the wine industry as well. I mean, there's no, besides ambassadorship, there is really no place for all of us. You look at Marcellus and what he's putting on, the whole thing about the NFL. And, as my quote is pretty direct when it says, be sure as a good mechanic that when you look under the hood that you're ready for what and who you might see. So these are things that we have to do in this community. And whether you're a musician, whether you're an activist, whether you're a mom or a dad or a sister or a brother, it is time to be engaged. And that is all the way from understanding your federal rights to your local rights to your state rights, and understanding how, a 20, 30, 40-year program from Karl Rove and the guys all the way up to now has taken over our state legislatures and our state houses, and how that is now having an effect with, how federal judges are being put in place to decide these, choice of laws questions, you know what I mean? So, or conflict of laws questions. We need to know this.
And why we should vote. Like, let's not debate whether we're going to vote. I'm not going to vote because I need to know what you're going to give me today. Like, that sounds like preachers that were paid by Republicans to suppress the vote when you're doing that. That type of conversation can suppress those who have no ability to clearly understand what is really going on. They're not thinking federal judges. Who's going to be on the bench?
Who's going to be in federal agencies? But not only that, I just voted in Maryland on Tuesday, right? So what about the long list of people for school board? You talk about our education and our curricula are irrelevant to our needs and our desires and our wants for our African-American, boys and girls. Well, did you show up to vote for school board? Did you show up to vote for county council and city council and mayor and state delegate and state representative and governor and your state rep to the federal government as it relates to your House of Representatives person and your senator and the president? This is not, we need to be engaged. We need to understand. And again, when we talk about the systematic, Carter G. Woodson miseducation, diseducation of African Americans, we don't even understand, or America, we don't even understand that how our system works. We don't know how many members of Congress there are. Most people don't even know that there is a state legislature. We need to. This is where I think the great opportunity is right now.
Yeah.
And go ahead. So I'm sorry.
No. Please continue. Because you're absolutely.
So this is our opportunity right now to say, look, yes, we have a lot of blame to throw around. Make sure that let's say it like this. There are a lot of reasons why we are where we are, right? It is now looking at the idea of, okay, how do we move forward? And as you're saying, voting is the number one direct way to put out the flag. Now, then we can start rebuilding. But man, you got to understand what your vote means, and that even if you think your presidential vote doesn't matter, your local vote matters. Your school of board education, it matters. And you must go out there because you can't claim discrimination. You can't claim the rights of a citizen if you don't exercise your rights of a citizen. I believe you lose your right. And the other thing I think is a great opportunity as we're in these protests, man, why not organize now? Why not have a table? If we have Black Lives Matter sitting on the middle of 16th Street like we do right now, let's put some tables up to make sure that when they come out tonight and tomorrow night and the night after that, that we get as many people around the country engaged in voting. Organize now. We have the ability to do it. Everybody understands where we are right now. Let's get them registered. Let's get them in there. And when November comes around, Shuddy, we are ready and willing, and then we'll have the plans in place through our organizations to take the message forward so that we can actually implement our plans and implement them in a way that actually have an effect for us. And we hold each one of our representatives accountable. They are representatives, right? They're not substitutes. You represent me. You are not my substitution. And such, it is incumbent upon me as a citizen to make sure that I hold you accountable for my vote.
So if anybody's just tuning in, you're tuning in to Rolling Out News Report. We are with the professor, the attorney, the superstar in music, Marcus Johnson and Terry Shropshire. The message and your brother's just going to take a couple more jabs at you, and we'll give people a little melody between. But I think we've got to figure out, and we're going to, in about 2 weeks, and I'll make sure we call on you. We're going to have to share how to organize. They just had a few trainings. Many of the young people are asking, how do I do exactly what you just described? Like the how to. Where is the how to kit? Where is that kit located? Training. You see it. It's part of what we must give our community because many don't understand. So then they find themselves lost or listening to people or just out on the street versus, like you said, joining an organization to at least get that training. So we got some training to do between now and November, but I think this training and that all of us continue to train will allow our community to heal and to get many of the tools that have been omitted as we've not thought that we should be part of civil rights groups, and we've not thought we should be part of organizations. And now all of a sudden we need all of this in order for us to win together.
Absolutely. I mean, and Dr. Alexander said it in Black Labor, White Wealth.
You might want to tell them which Alexander. See, I know, Professor, you know these things. Many of them may not have read that particular book or know which Alexander. They might be thinking you Alexander the Great or something.
Oh, no. So, and I'm having the brain slip right now. I think it's Claude Alexander, right? Okay, so exactly. So with Claude Alexander's book, Black Labor, White Wealth, it really talks about, in the preface in chapter 1, the reason kind of why we are where we are. There's this misconception that Black folk were just lazy and, you all didn't do anything. Well, wait a minute. For 400 years, it was punishable by death to read. We weren't allowed to get any education because they were scared of exactly what's going on right now. And then, you put on top of that, for 400 years, we were not allowed to own property. And then when we came out of the 1860s and quote unquote emancipation, then you had this idea, we had tens of thousands of farms. But what are you going to do when you come home and there's a picture or drawing of you and your family on a tree with a noose on it after the 400 years that, you had talked about that we just experienced, telling you need to leave? And then you had the other thing when you were trying to leave, where they were pulling you off the train to then, well, you went back, you abandoned your farm, so that's gone, right? So now we're going to put you to work back in a de facto slavery. Like, we need to tell the truth about what's going on. And again, part of it, man, is these networks of just talking to other engaged, educated, and when I say educated, I don't mean necessarily college educated, but people who are well-read about what has gone on. And then we tell our story to be like, nah, dude, that's not what happened, brother. We aren't a lazy people by far, because it's obvious that we built this place, train tracks, interstate highways, et cetera, et cetera. But the fact that we were intimidated, when I say intimidated, intimidated by the threat of murder. Intimidating me by telling me we're going to go like this is one thing. Telling me that you're going to take my children out, and I know what I've seen looking at, Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, the fruit hanging from trees, brothers and sisters, burnt to a crisp. I mean, we need to also make sure that people see those pictures and understand that as well. So when you see that, then you can say like, oh, and then he talks about the succession of our organizations, and to be able to say like, okay, Mark, who are you priming to come in behind you at Urban League to take the reins in these different directions? Okay, all of you guys at NAACP, who are we working with so that we can make sure that, when you leave, there is a game plan, there is a master plan. And I believe, the links, the alphas, I'm a member of Alpha Phi Alpha. What are our parts in that plan? And that is, as we talk about going forward, we need to understand where we came from. And I tell my students this all the time. I'm like, yo, look, it's just like Google Maps. You need to know where you are and how you got there in order to get to where you're going. Because if you can't tell Google, if you can't tell Google Maps or Waze what your current status is, there's no way in the world it can help you get where you're going. But if we actually find out and are cool and acknowledge, everything that we've gone through, and yet we're still here, right? I think, is it Yvette Alexander, the White Rage? I got to get my names together. But she talks about that, and we're still here. So you look at that and you say, okay, there's hope. And I don't need to feel as hopeless. I'm pissed off. Absolutely. I am angry as heaven. I want my, rights that they talked about, from the Magna Carta to the Declaration of Independence, dealing with the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I want it. I get why we are where we are, and I'm going to be like the warrior. I'm going to refrain, and I'm just going to be strategic as heaven.
All right. Well, let's give them a little bit of light right about now, so that they can breathe and get it. It was so amazing that we all have been able to meditate and pray at various moments where they've come up with this 8.46 or 9-minute pause. It would be beautiful to hear something for about 8.6 or 9 minutes, just to acknowledge the breadth and beauty and creativity of Black music that flows through our veins, that came from another country. So our country and our continent. So when I think about this, it's just a wonderful day. And we really appreciate the phenomenal jazz musician and entrepreneur, Marcus Johnson, coming on to be a part of Rolling Out News and Report. Your complexity and definitely tapestry is encouraging and is representative of who we are, Brother Johnson.
Thank you very much, man. So I have a new record out. I was going to play something else, but there's a love song. I have a CD called Ballads, and there's a love song I put on it because I believe my voice is really in my ballads and spreading it. And it's by Maxwell. And I think that at some point it's a form of gratitude to say that I'm fortunate. I'm fortunate to have you guys.
Thank you.
I can play all for you.
Thank you very much. We will ask for a little bit of original, but we did want to celebrate Black Music Month. It's so cultural. We appreciate all that you do. That was, I'm all about gratitude right now.
Yeah.
Fortunate enough that not having to be on the front line in a place where many of our brothers and sisters don't have an option.
Yeah.
They have to go to feed their families and change bedpans. Somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
They have to drive buses and people not wearing masks in states that don't protect them or provide them with it. Stack groceries and not get prepared and have protection gear. So I appreciate the song. It is significant, very much so, in what you've given us.
Man, look, I appreciate what you're giving everybody as it relates to the knowledge, and we're right to absolutely question every bit of what's going on right now. And I welcome the opportunity to come back, perform whenever, but also just to be, as a business owner, as a dad. You talk about frontline. My daughter has an immunodeficiency. She's been stuck out of town at her aunt's house with her mother for 12 weeks. And my job has been to get out of my feelings, which I had no problem doing, so that I could home Zoom school her for the past 3 months. And teaching your 7-year-old unpacking and splitting of numbers is not easy on Zoom. And then it's a matter, what we're asking for is that the consideration that parents are giving teachers right now for having to do what they did, their child care, taking care of our kids every day and educating them and feeding them. Man, if you take that to a macro level, that is what we're asking for. So I welcome the opportunity to be on any kind of call or be involved with the structure. I mean, that's my background. That's what I did, at Georgetown. And, it would be an honor, and we got to do it.
Well, no, I think we don't want to let you go just yet because we want to hear one of those original
Okay.
But I think that even as an entrepreneur, I think that the conversation is how do we get your wine in Target and all the other places that it's not distributed. For me, since you say you have a 7-year-old, I've written 7 children's books. So for your daughter, Little Professor Sky, book line that I have online at a company called Playful Genius. You can actually find those books there for our young children and Adam Smart and the Plush Crew. There's a coloring book for her there so that she can enjoy that with the intelligent stickers about actually coding and all the things that we want in a little journal. But for me, I think it's important that the Black intelligentsia not be silent or use our lens against our own people. Like, for me, that's just despicable.
Because that means it really starts at home, though. You know what I mean? It really begins with how are you looking at yourself in your lens every morning? And I think that when we're talking about this within our paradigm and in the structure of our families and our community, it is okay not to be perfect. Although they require us to be 10 times better. When you come home, make sure that you're giving yourself the God-given break to know that your actual self-concept was given to you in Genesis. You're made in the likeness of the Creator, so you're good. So no matter what you think your imperfections might be on this world and on this earth, you are absolutely the way and perfectly designed the way God wanted you to be. So if we could give ourselves breaks, then I think our lens actually begins to change. You know how it goes in and out of focus and everything like that. But at least then we could have some consideration. Because I tell you, I am the first person to get up every day and wink at me. And I challenge everybody out here listening to us in the world to be the first person to wink at yourself in the morning. Because if you can do that, that's a great start. But if you can't, nobody can. And when they do, you're not ready for it. So when you have people out protesting for your right to be able to hate, you know what I'm saying, through speeches and online, et cetera, they're out there protesting for your right to do that. And then you get on them for that. You might want to reconsider that, or at least you could have some type of consideration. But you can't
check
do
yourself.
that. Huh?
Not just say, check yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to check yourself and check yourself positively too. Pat yourself on the back. And I think that's something in our community. Oh, don't be uppity. Watch it. You're going to have too much of an ego. Ego, yeah, we can put that out of it. But self-care, self-respect, understand that you deserve to take care of you. Most of the airplanes that I fly on going to places around the world, they are devoid of African Americans. And, I see all spectrums of Caucasians. I see some that look, wealthy. I see some that don't. But where are they going? To the same vacation places where I'm going to play. Why aren't we? Because it's here. It starts here in our heads about how we see ourselves and whether or not we're even worthy to be in the main house. Because I'll challenge you back. You said, you want to make sure you can get my wine in Target. I want us to have Target. I want Target to be Black owned. You know what I'm saying? Why can't we have a multi-$100 billion a year company that we can go to with people that is owned by us, and then the structure all the way down is with people like us in the executive structure? Then we're having a whole different kind of conversation. But if we level set, and I totally appreciate it and understand where you're coming from. But if we're gonna sit here and we're gonna dream and we're gonna imagine and assume,
that wasn't a dream. I got big dream. It wasn't a dream. When you say that, my point is right now.
I got you
today.
I
want some KPIs.
Yep.
That we literally say, Target, you got better because we know that this wine is now in your store and it's African American owned. He already lives in DC. We should get all of DC and your Black stories within a 10-state radius. So for me, the conversation is the same as me getting my books in Target.
Yes.
Something we've been working on for the last 8 months. And we know that in order for us to make progress, not only having our own, clearly, we need retail.
Yes.
Obviously, I wouldn't have ever called it Target. We can call it something else, whatever you want to call it, because I'm happy to fill it. But I think that even sharing why you got in the wine business in the first place, so others can dream with you, so other entrepreneurs know why it's important that we be in the wine business. Why is it important for us to be in businesses that we consume the products that are there for us to consume?
So the short answer, and I hope people take this very seriously, is first, why not, right? Because I think a lot of times we talk ourselves out of the idea before we even get started. I'm done. Why me? Why should I have a wine brand? Why should I own an airline? Why should I have hotels? Why should I own, get some franchises and things like that? First, you got to understand, well, why not? And then it's a matter of the fact that I love wine. And when you look at the changing dynamics of the music industry, I learned early that it was more about the lifestyle that we were creating, and that I really am not in the music industry. I'm really in the therapy industry. And then when you understand the true dynamic of providing cathartic, therapeutic content and experience for people, and you look, as you talk about KPIs, your key performance, indicators, and you look at your target demographics and your market segments, and you look up and you're like, yeah, women are kind of involved in the jazz experience and the Black wine experience, and they're my target demo and they support me tremendously. So why not put all that together and say, like, I don't think there's a more therapeutic experience than, getting a glass of Flow wine and listening to some Marcus Johnson with your girls. And so, if you really, you take the time and, get peaceful and listen, yet, as you're saying, which is so poignant, look at the numbers, look at who's looking at you, look at the opportunities. Then you start asking the question, okay, well, how would I go about this? I'm reading Inc. magazine, finding out about custom crush facilities. I'm doing my due diligence, which, when you hear that term, for people who might not know, that's when you're doing your research to find out who are the best custom or contracted, brand producers of wine in the country. And then you ask other people, you try to work with minority supplier development components of places like SuperValue. And Michael Byron, who actually is at Walmart right now, and that's another conversation for us to have about your book too, to talk to him if you haven't already, was the senior vice president of supplier diversity at SuperValue in Minneapolis, of all places, right? And he and his CEO and their team made a decision to put our wine on their shelves based on a very detailed business plan before we had wine in a bottle. We told them about our demographics. We'd had the brand, the graphics finished. We had a wine producer in Delicato Family Vineyards that we were working with at the time. And we all got together in Minneapolis. And Mike was like, we're going to do it. And they ended up launching us in the beginning at, in about 800 stores, from Albertsons to Joel Osco to Farm Fresh when they had that. And, dynamics changed. He left. And when he left and they were bought, again, it's what is the succession? And we lost our champion. So, we tried to do stuff to work in the Walmart. It wasn't necessarily our target, retailer. But the other part about being in business is facing the failure and saying, I'm going to make it anyway, but I'm going to pivot. It's not a failure. You're not a failure. It just didn't work in that particular scenario. And having the as my parents say, the stick-to-itiveness, the perseverance, the resilience to look failure in the face and say, you're part of me growing. And, to continue on. And now, we're in Food Lion. We continue to grow. We're trying to work some things out. I mean, we really need to hit on the door as much money as we put into Total Wine and more, and demand that they have more African-American brands, because they don't. And, they're David Trone, who's a congressman now out of Maryland, definitely has hired a lot of people, former jail folk, and given them jobs. That's great. And I think there's a possibility, I think there's an opportunity to support our brands in the stores. You have thousands of brands of wine in the store. Make us some of your winery direct. And these are the conversations we need to have. But yes, in essence, it was just, I need to do something for my business to make sure that I can continue on, because the music industry isn't making exactly what I want. This is something I like, and the people that like me like this. And you put, it's really putting a lime in the coconut and shaking it all up.
Yeah, I think this is an opportunity that we need to take advantage of and exploit, and to basically demand from these companies, corporations, that we patronize and predominate at this time, to demand. Companies have never had to move. And Frederick Douglass said something key. He said, power does not concede anything without a struggle. So therefore, this is the time, as you saw with the marquee NFL personalities, athletes are demanding from the NFL, you need to apologize for the way you handled the kneeling. And guess what? Within 24 hours, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell came out with an apology and said, yes, we messed up with the Colin Kaepernick thing from 2016. Well, did they all of a sudden have an epiphany overnight? No, it's because we demanded it, because this time that we need to take advantage of this time. And what you're talking about with Target and Walmart, with your brand of wine, Munson's Books and others, that we need to demand from these corporations that they give back to us in proportion, at least in proportion to the amount that we patronize their products and have done for decades, faithfully,
Yes.
and quietly.
Yes, and not that it's that we should, right? No, you should just come in my store and do these things that yeah, I have a store that you helped me build, but it should be that way versus nah, man. And that's where, again, the organization needs to kind of come where it's like, yo, we are spending billions of dollars in total wine and more a year around the country. So, hey, is that 10%? Can you give us, people are like, well, I don't like quotas. Well, okay, you might not like them, but this is what we're asking for. And it goes
these
back
are the
to,
facts. These are the facts. We just
yes,
want you to live within the facts. We have to have some kind of number as a KPI. It cannot be zero. Zero is the worst number. And we need a bigger number based on our receipt shareholders, because we are receipt shareholders.
yes. And it goes back to, what you're saying, man, is that you don't get what you deserve. You get what you ask for and or demand.
Right.
Right.
Well, if you would be so kind, Brother Johnson, Marcus Johnson, phenomenal entrepreneur, tell us the name of your wine brand.
My wine brand's name is Flow. You can find information at, if you put Marcus Johnson and wine in Google, that's the easiest way to get to it. But we ship to 40 states through buyflowwine.com. And we have a Chardonnay, we have a Moscato, and we have a red blend. We've been named the USA Today Top 10 Celebrity Wine Brand. The only African-American company on that list with like
congratulations.
Thanks, man. No, it is an honor. And then, we still have to bang on the door. So any support direct to consumer, and I'm going to ask this because I agree with you as it relates to asking even our people, please, sharing everything is great. But if you're going to get a bottle of wine, check us out. Our stuff is great. Like, buy a bottle. The sharing on Facebook and Instagram, I love it. At Flow Wine 360 is where we are, and it's FLO, which means for the love of. So Flow Wine, FLO Wine 360, and check out our website and see what we're doing. Eventually come to one of our Sips and Sounds events where we mix jazz and wine and great experiences. I mean, that's my call to action as well.
Exactly. I mean, it has to be the equivalent. We have to, us as consumers, and we know how to consume. It is up to us, to do the equivalent of going away from Gucci, who disrespects us, and to do the research to find the dynamic Black designers that are producing the products, and do that equivalent in all industries. We need to find our dynamic entrepreneurs, our dynamic creators, and start to patronize them and build them up instead of going back to the people who have consistently and traditionally disrespected us, not only in the production of the products, but the lack of any executives in their ranks, in the hierarchy. And so I agree with what you're talking about, Mr. Johnson.
And I'll tell you this also, while there's an ease of consumer to get, in just in time delivery of our wine at, certain stores, you are helping us exponentially by buying our stuff online and not looking down on the fact that we're direct to consumer. I have to give away 30% of my margin, my gross margin, to my distributor. I have to give away 30% more of my margin to my retailer. And then I'm left with whatever is left with producing it, my cost of goods sold, and my little margin, right? So, I just believe that looking at people and saying, well, I can only order it online is not the way to look at it. It's like, thank God I can order it online because I know you're getting all of your money. And whether it's clothing, whether it's jewelry, whether it's,
Books.
Yeah.
Books, my bad, yeah, books,
toys.
And
we got toys.
All of it. You know what I'm saying?
All of it. Yeah.
And going directly to you helps you. And at the end of the day, I'm investing in organizations like National Center for Children and Family and on the board of, Boys and Girls Club and these other places. I'm going to put my money back into the community. I'm doing it. I'm doing it now. I'm not going to change when I get more money. Right. So support people, as I told them today, support people who look like you and are doing the things that you want your kids to do. I hope at some point somebody's like, I want my son to grow up to be like Marcus Johnson. I hope that's what I'm living as a life of excellence. I'm not perfect by far, but
So
I
if
am
you just
doing my
tuned in, we've got Rolling Out News Report, and we are joined by entrepreneur and music extraordinaire, jazz musician, Marcus Johnson. If you would give us something, and we're going to bring on Reginald Hudson in a few. Thanks,
Tell
Reginald.
Reggie I said what's up.
All right. Well, he'll be on in 2 seconds, so
Right.
bring him on while you're playing. So don't go away.
Got it. This will be a little fun for you.
Just off the new album.
Yeah. It's called Plush.
Yeah. Woo!
All right.
Happy Black History Month, everybody. That was Marcus Johnson, jazz extraordinaire, CEO of Flow Wine, professor, teacher, activist, father, dad, who's going to Playful Genius today and make sure his baby girl gets a big surprise. And King Volcano, best stuffed toy on the market. Marcus, we're joined by Reginald Weeks. Hey, Reginald.
How are you?
Well, we're all part of the movement. I'm glad here. Obviously, you're here. Marcus is a professor, and obviously, he's a musician. It's Black Music Month, but we're pushing the intellectual capital. We're calling everybody from HBCUs and around the world. Really appreciate it. Would you let people know what you're doing right now, what's happening this weekend? And if you would, just give people a message on why we all should be involved.
Okay. Actually, I was challenged by some friends to put together a walk, and decided that with all the looting and rioting and everything that was going on, we need to change the narrative. So what we wanted to do was get some different visuals. I mean, from now till when we had civil rights, and now there's always been a group of us that have presented ourselves, other than what the visuals we're seeing on TV. So being that I'm in that lane, some friends of mine challenged me to get some brothers together, some well-dressed brothers together, and we're going to do a walk. So tomorrow, Saturday, we're going to meet at the old Ebenezer, and we're going to walk to the birthplace of Martin Luther King at 9 a.m. sharp.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. How would you describe the temperature of young brothers and sisters right now?
I think that I think the whole world, all young people, it's enough is enough. I think for some odd reason, this particular circumstance struck a nerve. And, I think this was just like the match that just lit the whole world on fire. It's not that this hasn't happened before. It's happened to friends of mine. I have a good friend, a neighbor that's friends with Ahmaud and his family. And these situations have been going on and on and on. But I think this time, I think the temperature is very, very hot, because you're not just seeing us as a people get outraged, which we always have, but you're seeing the whole world stand up behind us.
No, I just thought that I thought it was key to what you were talking about, because I think that, I equated to a volcano that was simmering beneath the earth for quite some time.
Yes, sir.
And one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other. And then all of a sudden, it just exploded. Yeah. And once the lava is out, you can't go and put the lava back in the volcano. It's out.
Yeah.
And
it's rolling.
Yeah, exactly. So while I commend you and applaud you for your efforts to do something, and that's what we advocate here at Rolling Out News, is that you don't have to do what everybody else is doing, but do something that moves the community forward, that moves the country forward. So I'm glad to do that. And while I advocate and ask anyone who joins you to practice social distancing and put on a mask, because we need you for future fights. We need you to continue this. Yeah. So, but what is your reasonable expectation for comes out tomorrow? What is your objective in terms of just adding layer and layer on what we're trying to advance and what we're trying to accomplish, what we want to manifest?
Yeah, my personal objective was, I was a content creator for Diddy for years. And so, I'm a celebrity photographer as well. So, visuals is a big thing for me. So, marketing, visuals, and the presence. I just felt that it was my part, that if I could create content, safe content. I'm 45 years old, so I'm not going out to burn any cars down. That's not my.
It's good he's not doing that. I appreciate that.
Okay.
We believe
sorry
you're
about
not
that.
trying to go burn any cars. I've got my own thoughts about agent provocateurs and who's out burning cars. I haven't seen anybody burning cars. Somebody might take a car, but they're not burning any cars about now, so.
Yeah. So my thing was to create some visuals and some, to put out there for the media to see, for the internet to see. For us, as strong Black men, I'm a father of 3. I just had two twin babies that turned 1.
Oh, congratulations.
So, thank you. So, what I can do, this is my part. This is my part to present a visual of people like me who are, part of the community, and, their fathers like me, protectors like me, and providers like me. So all of us can come together and do our part. I mean, I had a lot of pushback at first because a lot of the guys in my group, we've all been social distancing, we've all been inside. So, but I let them know we're going to all be in masks. We have masks for everybody as well, just in case someone does show up. And we're going to stand in rows of 3, 1 on each side of the street, 1 person in the middle, and then we'll just do it in rows of 3. My expectation is that we have a nice large group. We'll have a photographer there, capturing the day. And it's just going to be a short walk, a united walk. And, with friends of mine, acquaintances of mine, I guess, we all have social media friends who all, as soon as I put it out there, jumped on it and said, hey, I will meet you out there.
So, Brother Johnson, clearly, what do you think the temperature is? I think I love the fact, Reginald, that you talk about control the narrative. How would you suggest we control the narrative, Brother Johnson?
I mean, like I said, I agree with Reggie in making sure that we keep that anger in, and it's more of like a directed, like, again, recognizing we are in a war, right? When you're killing us, I can't tell you the amount of times I've been pulled over and the nasty things that have been said to me. And, I'm walking around here with a daggone law degree, and the how deep inside I have to go to be like, shut up, Marcus, right? It's there, but use it as a fuel in a different way, because it's meant as evil to take you off your game and to show, just be who you are. We're not angry people running around by nature, but using this strategically. And the only thing I would continue to add for people that I know that are throwing, that are organizing events to demonstrate and to voice our opinions and voice our desires, is that there please be some level of organization to it. So that the people that are feeling hopeless, they're feeling hopeless because we really haven't been educated on any of this. What's going on. As I said, our civic participation duties, our real civic, we hear all this stuff that people spew on Twitter, one in particular about people's rights, but, great is not in the United States Constitution. More better is, which in and of itself, or more perfect is, which in and of itself means that the Constitution isn't perfect, right? And that this isn't a perfect nation, but it's one that can continue to grow. And so I think people just they are angry. And because they're not getting the food that they need mentally and emotionally and civically to just be left alone, just to feel at peace. That's what people are like.
I got one question for you as it relates to what do we want? And I'm going to come back to you, Brother Johnson. What, and Terry, what is the new narrative? What is the new mandatory narrative that we need to have collectively? What is the new narrative that's based on principle that we can all have collectively? If you would help me with that, Reginald, and then I'll come back to you, Terry, and then Mr. Johnson.
I think the collective narrative, that the word that we need to put out, is that any injustice to anybody from now on, as a collective, we are going to descend down and use all of the manpower, economic power, education power to stop it. I think that's the narrative. I think whenever there's more injustice to anybody else or any one of us, especially, I think from now on, I think we've got it. I think that people are going to come together like the bat signal went up and just descend on whatever is being done wrong. I think that is the narrative right now.
I think that the narrative also, piggybacking off of that, I think the narrative is also that these situations are not going to die. Like what has happened over the last 5 years, 10 years, even 20 or 30 years in the modern era is that we would get outraged, we would break stuff, and then things would quiet down. They'd throw us a few trinkets and doodads. We get quiet, and then it would happen again. And then in 2012, Trayvon Martin, we get mad, tear things up, we get quiet. It happened again. Mike Brown, then Eric Garner, and on and on and on. Sandra Bland, it just goes on and on. So I think that the new narrative is that we have to enact and implement lasting change, real viable changes and demand from the people who have either we've patronized or have exploited us for decades, like these corporations, like the NFL, to demand, because what I saw was very encouraging from the marquee players who demanded that the NFL apologize for the way they handled the kneeling situation with the national anthem. And within 24 hours, their knees buckled and they had offered a pathetic apology, but it was an apology, and they were capitulating to the desires of us who patronize a product and make up 70% of that. So you translate to all other industries. So I think the new narrative is that we are realizing and have to realize our innate gifts and our power to demand more of this country that we have fought for, that we built. We made this country what it is. So now we need to retrieve some of that goodness and that we have built, because we made this country what it is. Mr. Johnson, you're next.
Brother Johnson.
So I think our narrative is, in specifics, we want drinking water that isn't tainted. We want access to health care that isn't tainted. We want access to education that isn't tainted. We want access to the corporate C-suites that isn't tainted. We want access to any and everything out here that we are part of as a part of this society, and that we pay taxes to, and that we get up every day and go to work for. We want access to it. And if by chance you don't do that, this is what you will see, right? Because I think that the narrative alone is we're demanding, well, what does justice look like? Justice looks like you going in and fixing that in Flint, Michigan, that still has not been fixed, right? Justice looks like, when you go to some of these college campuses still, and these kids are being discriminated against, right? That we hold people accountable for the fact that they are intimidating kids who are just there to pay to get an education, not to be harassed because of the color of their skin. That when we put our applications in for SBA PPP money and EIDL money, that we have equal access to it. It's not just my boy who has the relationships with Bank of America and Wells Fargo. We already know what they've done in the community, right? That we get equal access to that. That we get equal access to executive shares so that we know how to build our businesses. That we help these corporations that have minority supplier development, that they have executives that not only get our products in the store, help us get them off the shelves, help us get new products on the store and build. Even if we end up coming up with some equity, in our companies that help us build that. The justice is in the fact that we are aware of what we bring to the table, and we are demanding that you look out for those of us who are engaged in supporting this entire thing. Don't look at what, we talk about the provocateurs, not the people out there doing that kind of stuff. It's the ones that are at home right now trying to figure out ways to homeschool the community or get the good word out there. We want to live a peaceful life. Give me my water. It's not just
I got one more thing, Brother Johnson, because I know we got to bring you back next Friday, but all of Black Music Month. I really want to say it's important for me because I'm going to get all these truths. Reggie, you're an image maker.
Yes, sir.
And so I need you to call. You said you had a former employer. What was his name?
Puff Daddy Kong.
and we need to tell Instagram what percentage of the profit from Instagram that we want going to Black businesses. And we want them to endow Black colleges so we never again have to wonder, will they ever not be funded? So we want several B's, because for me, gentlemen, if we really, it doesn't have to be a quota, but we want transparency on how you're spending all of your dollars today. We're not interested in I'm not interested in whether Kaepernick has a job. He already decided he was a warrior. He'll take the L as it related to a career. Whatever. That's already clear. I want to know, are we going to tell the NFL, what are you funding in our community? And the same with Instagram, the same with Facebook. I don't want us to keep saying, oh, we all going to post and act like we don't know that we sponsoring these posts and everybody is getting it. We don't need any more special Negroes. We don't need any more Black pets. We are tired of them too. So if we're going to create these images for you, for free, and have all of our people picking Instagram and Facebook cotton, at least allow us to get a pittance of the fund at some point so we can be sharecroppers in the profits.
Yes, sir.
How do you carry that message so that we can stay on because I'm all for the injustice.
Yeah.
But the economic injustice creates poverty and despair in all of our children that wake up without the ability to be hired by you, Reginald, to be hired and be the marketing director at Flow Wines. We must talk about the economic injustice that gives them the ability to allow our neighborhoods to go down.
And to piggyback on what you're saying, civil rights in 2020, honestly, the way that, Citizens United cases made it, civil rights is at the bottom right-hand corner of a paycheck or your ability to cash app somebody something to a political action committee. And we need to get real about what that means in supporting the candidates who are engaged in the things that we want. Right?
I'm glad you mentioned that, but that's not what we're asking for. We're asking for 30% of the marketing budget of the Democratic Party. That's what we're asking for, to be placed at Black ad agencies, not influencers, and actually be transparent so that the community know who got 30% of the marketing and consulting and PR of the Democratic Party. We have to do this paint by numbers, everybody.
Everybody, yes.
It must be paint by numbers, Reggie.
Yeah.
And I need your imagery to suggest to the community that we're not going to tolerate them making billions off images that y'all create for free
every day
and pick the cotton.
Yeah.
And have no request in the B's. We shouldn't be talking, everybody, they giving 1 B or 1 million and we insulted you, so now you don't have to go to Wendy's, but we're gonna give you 500,000, 800 stores. Every store is doing $1 million. You're talking about $1 billion and he's gonna give you 1%. Our math has to be much better as receipt shareholders, not stockholders, receipt shareholders. So you're watching Rolling Out News Report. How do we change the economic agenda for this movement to a measurable moment, both you, Reginald, and you, Mr. Johnson? And we're going to allow other guests to join, but I really need to hear from you, Reginald, because you create these images for these individuals and you know all these big time people. So We got this movement going. And I just want to know, are we going to continue to pick this cotton, or are we going to actually make them obligated to understand that respect is given to those who are loving what you're doing? But we got to get some love back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's institutionalized. I mean, we've always been the flavor of anything. I mean, it's not 2020. It's been from the beginning. I mean, we are the salt and pepper of life. I mean, and what's happened is all the people that don't have the salt and pepper have taken it from us. And we've got to figure out a way that every time we are making the world, I mean, like you said, in social media, we are the ones. It's just like music, with hip hop or anything else. We're the market share. We are the lion's share. We're the lion's share of creators. We're the lion's share of creatives. We're the lion's share of what is looked at. But you're so right. I don't know exactly.
That's okay. You're part of the team. I'm gonna come back to you. It's okay to say we don't know. Right. But I need you to begin the discussion with us together. See, I don't want to have an image. I'm giving you a moment. I'm just sharing with you as a creative that you got to talk to me in KPIs. I don't want no more concept thinking. Yeah. What is the concept? Like, if you can't ask for transparent, if we aren't going to ask corporations to be transparent at their ad agencies, if we aren't going to ask hospitals to be transparent on how many Black people you sent away during COVID, I mean, if we're not going to ask for transparency, see, I want to be real transparent about some real things. Mm-hmm. I want to be real transparent. I want real transparency at these studios. And we don't want the one Negro philosophy. If there ain't 20 of us in the room, we know that you're getting ready to buy somebody off. Yeah. We know if you don't have a supplier diversity that can show the CEO, and if your CEO doesn't meet with the individuals that are in your supplier diversity, he doesn't care. If you haven't had Black Media Day, you hate Black people. Mm-hmm. But we need Black influencers to say that, Reginald. We need to be able to share the economic hate you give. That's why Black people have hypertension. It's from economic dreams. Moms have to decide between feeding their children and having a boyfriend they don't want. We're joined on Rolling Out News. Obviously, we have Precise and obviously Miss Barber, who are out of Chicago. If you would tell us about your movement. Reggie's doing a big, Reginald, that is, image shaper, celebrity, photographer, and dad. You're joined by Marcus Johnson, who's a phenomenal entrepreneur, famous jazz artist, but obviously professor and attorney. So, when you talk about layered gifts, see, I think we discount ourselves so much, and I'm gonna share this with you, Reggie, because I'm older than you, so I'm like your older brother. We discount ourselves by saying, well, we the shapers of the culture. No, we are overqualified, over-talented, and underutilized by a society who oppresses our ability to showcase our genius on the stage. That's who we are. That's who we are. We don't want to give it away. None of us want to give it away. We want to earn more of what we are. It should be ours. We want our share. This movement has to be about our share. Mm-hmm. And that's our share of everything. I don't need my share of the police budget. I'm not interested in that. But I know that if my brother Marcus gets him one more retailer, and he shows me how to get one more retailer, then I will feed the people that I make a Black payroll.
Absolutely.
Did you hear what kind of Black payroll I said?
Yep.
I make one of those. And I want our community to make more payrolls.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I want us to be able to have our share. Ms. Barber, why don't you tell the team about your project?
Yeah, well, I'm out here in Chicago, as you said, and I've been working with Black entrepreneurs for almost 14 years now. So like you said, it's about how we can all uplift each other. So what we did, just in light of everything, when the looting started, I know I was disheartened like everybody else. But I was just really sad to see some of our staple businesses in the community, some of the clothing stores and some of the people like Jonathan Swain, who gives back, and Kim Bark Lickers, who gives back so much, being looted. So I said, what can we do? It's not to say that we don't want to encourage anybody to loot, but we need to do something to identify who we are and show that we're important, like you said, because Black businesses do what? They make Black payroll. So we got to be here. We can't miss the bigger picture when we doing this looting and stuff, that we lose our own businesses. So somebody had tagged me in a post like, hey, we need a way to identify ourselves. And I said, you know what? We need to do these Black-owned signs and put them up around the city. Now, I thought it was going to be a small movement, honestly. We did this the day after the looting happened in Chicago on Monday. And I posted like 3 o'clock, designed something, red, black, and green, of course, with the African flag, printed them for free. You know, just because, again, it wasn't about making money or promoting ourselves. It was really about how can we do something that shows unity? How can we do something that identifies ourselves? And within a couple of hours, I had over 1,000 shares, and I had people meet me in Bronzeville to come pick up the posters. And it just caught like wildfire. And then what I loved about it, because some people have been asking, what do I think about it? And what I've been moved the most by is not just the fact that we've been, at this one, I think we over 1,000 signs that we printed. It's the number of people who stepped up and said, hey, I want to come to your shop wherever you are and pick up posters just to support the businesses in my community. So we had over 100 people come to our office, business owner or not, just to say, I want to put these up. I want to give these to people. And it just became this movement. And now you can go through Bronzeville and Inglewood and so many other places and see all of these Black-owned signs.
That must be the north side of town.
No. Not the north side.
I mean, if you don't know Chicago, you might as well say it's the south side, because, you know, we gotta shout it out. I'm sure a little bit on the west side. I just want to let people know, see, you know, because they talk about it. They talk about the city. Obviously, I'm in South Shore and Bronzeville, so I understand. But I just want people to know that you're putting and have created this movement. Because what everybody on here has a movement, you know.
Yeah, and people were really, like I said, been touched by it. It's helped protect our businesses, but more than anything, it's really unified. People love that identity. So it goes beyond what's going on right now. People are proud to be a Black-owned business, and you know, the community needs to know. They need to know who amongst them is Black-owned, because we need to support each other. That's the only way we're gonna survive. I'm with you 100%, Munson. Black business create Black payroll. I might turn that into a shirt.
Let me tell you something. That's what I did, is make the shirt. Don't tease me. Be about it. Be about it.
I'm about it. Like I said, somebody tagged me with this idea, and within a few hours, we had the posters printed, ready, and distributed. So we definitely are about action, because that's what it takes.
You know what was so powerful about the signs is that not only do they represent you showing the Black businesses, now they're a clear identifier as we travel throughout the city, and there are businesses that have been in existence that we didn't know were Black businesses initially. So to be able to see that red, black, and green flag in the window saying support Black business is such a huge movement in Chicago, and we really appreciate you for that.
Yeah, and that's why I said it really was bigger than I thought, because like you said, it's definitely not just for now.
All right, hold on. You're on my show. Nothing is ever bigger than you thought. You were given a vision. When you have a vision, it's from God, and we are created by God.
Absolutely.
You know, once you get on that ride with God, powerful things happen. You had a vision. Don't discount, because somebody want to say, well, you didn't think it. No, you were blessed to have the vision grow big.
Yep.
So you got to claim your genius, because you're going to be around somebody say, oh, that's just some little signs.
Yeah.
You're blessed with your genius. We were blessed that you had a movement. We're blessed that Reggie is in a movement that took action the way he's doing it. Because there's somebody going to look at Reggie and say, I'm here because I wanted to be involved. And if somebody in my category, because we're not homogenous, everybody's not the same. Tyrone's out there, they rather for him to catch the ball than to be out there educating this community in Minneapolis. We know he's one of two at any moment in Minneapolis streets. Welcome Tyrone Carter, NFL player, community active, street reporter. I mean, Tyrone, you have done it all in the last week. I want y'all to know when Rolling Out couldn't get an image, Reggie from Minneapolis, Tyrone would walk us through and show us and explain. And let me tell you, he was one of the first people on the internet that I saw respectfully talk about how George Floyd called for his mother and explained the connection between him having a celestial experience at that moment, calling out for his mother. What's going on in Minneapolis there, Tyrone?
What's happening, big fella? And for those that's on here joining us, all our kings and queens, I appreciate the voice. I appreciate you guys out there and the concerns. What's going on here in the state of Minnesota, man? I appreciate the introduction. Like you said, hearing that name, Mama, it meant something to me because my grandmother sent me up in Minnesota and I never knew why she sent me here, because growing up in Florida, seeing so much trauma starting at the age of 5 and being stripped and taken away from my mama at 7, I learned at a young age that this system, this country, don't care nothing about the heart. They care something about the profit, the money. They value money over life. Because I learned at a younger age again, if you wanted to give my mother help that had 5 kids at the age of 22, knowing that she didn't know how to be a mother and understanding the environment she raised up in, she has no choice, she has no help. But I learned something from my grandmother. These kids that grows up in this world, they don't pick their parents. They don't pick their environment they raised up in. But we as adults have an obligation to make sure our community, our state, that our kids, whatever they're missing, we are providing. And that's when they know how to take kids as 5 checks to me. Because we all was shipped away. Can you imagine being taken away from your mother at 7 years old and you don't see your siblings or your mother in 3 weeks? Well, I'm so thankful for my grandmother because she had to mold me. She got me at 7. It took her 3 years to mold me. Can you imagine the feel God I did that? Because in the midst of that, my grandma showed me. And she whooped me she whooped me twice a day, beaten, and she hit me. It didn't help me. What helped me is the price I had to do with my body. My body, without nobody inflicting pain on me. I got to do pain myself. And it taught me anything I want, I can accomplish it. And I'm willing to see it, believe it, and work.
Well, Tyrone,
a day should go by that I'm not working for my goals and dreams. I realize
he is really trying hard.
Yeah, he's trying to connect. Yeah, Tyrone, yeah, your connection is going in and out. You might have to move to a different spot in that room or your home.
Let's see.
Yes, sir.
But one of the things I want to make sure that we all know that we're all part of a movement. And Barbara, Miss Barbara, I want you to know that yours is significant. I probably heard 1,000 young kids, Reginald, say, I just need somebody to show me how. And they want the structure that everybody on here is giving individuals, hope, something to move, somebody to give them, to ignite them, to allow them through all of you to be a vehicle of change. I mean, you've changed lives. You talk about 1,000 people, and then another 10 people going 1,000 places. So all of a sudden, that's 10,000 people. If 100 people go in there, that's 100,000 people. You took a loaf of bread and fed thousands. That's what you've done. You've given pride in an absence. I know what Southside looks like. I know what 75th looks like. I know what 79th looks like. Those are places where every day a child needs hope. To believe in a sign of hope. And that's what you've given them, Miss Barbara.
You know,
Miss Barbara, if Miss Barbara could create a unified symbol. I mean, I'm a Black business owner. I have an e-commerce site online, and I know other Black fathers like myself that sell products online. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We group together. We try to share each other's information, and we were talking about how we've all seen an uptake in interest in our businesses. If we had a symbol besides the hashtag, or just letting people know verbally, I'm a Black-owned business, that would be great. I mean, other communities have it. Other communities have a such and such friendly flag, or, you know, if there was a universal symbol that I could add to all of my stuff. I mean, I'm posting my products that I make personally online every day, and people visit my website. And some of it is, you know, because I'm Black-owned, and some of it's not. But if I had just that symbol for all those people I can't personally touch, that would be awesome.
Okay, you all giving me some challenges today. I will say that I've seen, and I'll give a quick story of how this movement is really raising the consciousness. As you know, Mr. Steve, you came to our Legacy Awards. So we do an event where we celebrate Black entrepreneurs. Our winner was a 12-year-old girl, Ava. She has a pet store company. She makes organic pet treats. She said that she had been doing, you know, she had been hit hard by COVID, of course, like everybody else. She's a 12-year-old with her own business, making the food. She's actually in real pet stores. They emailed me today. They got 620 orders today. 620 orders today. They average maybe 5 to 10 orders because, and I said, well, what happened? Did you all post something to do something special? She said, no, we got added to about 5 Black-owned business lists. And it just went viral and it hit on social media. So I will say, like, just to the point with the symbol, that people do care. People want to see that who they're supporting. They want to understand that. And I will say from all of this that the consciousness is being raised. It was already on the rise, but now it's at an all-time high where people really understand where they have, what their support really means, and how that's what's going to be that's going to change the narrative. We are the people that's going to change it. So I just wanted to share that story because I was just like, you know, from a girl who averages 10 orders, and it all came from these Black-owned lists. And again, so now she's on the uptick, and now she can do more things. So I wanted to show you all the poster. I do have it. So this is the one poster that we did with the red, black, and green. And then we had a second one because of everything that was going on with the do not destroy. I got a lot of feedback about this one because some people are like, "What does that mean? It's okay to destroy non-Black-owned businesses?" And I said, you know, absolutely not. I am a supporter of small business, especially. But what's wrong with us, like you said, having something that identifies who we are? We in our community, we have a right to be unified. You know?
Ms. Barbara, I'd also recommend, it's Marcus Johnson. I'd also recommend if you put that in the PDF format and you can distribute that to all of us. I mean, to Reginald's point, I can put that on my website tomorrow. Yeah, and newsletters and affiliated social media, because I too, I mean, in the last 3 days, we've had 1,000 followers in our for our wine, and we might get 5 a day. Wow. But we've been put on these lists, and we're coming in, the top, 5 of these, African American wine brands, and people and it's all shapes, sizes, colors, et cetera, et cetera. So I think with what you've designed, that would be perfect. And even if if you have to change the other one, help us build our Black-owned business. Mm-hmm. And again, that gives us a call to action as well. Yes. And Munson, you're the conduit here. I mean, even for the people on this list, if you get it to us, we can get that out to a lot of people, and that is a start to help us build our Black-owned businesses.
I'm looking forward to that order for this baby girl. Be sure to get King Volcano from and I do have a new book for toddlers over there, 1-year-olds, the Plush Crew. My dear brother over there, Reginald. I don't know if you've been to Playful Genius, .co yet, but we want to get you.
Okay.
And Munson, like the thing is, this conversation is what we need to have with specifics. For instance, I just got hit up by Black millennial moms, wine moms, right? So 15,000 mothers, African American millennial mothers. Duh. I mean, books. I mean, that you have what the kids need. I have what the moms need. I mean, you put it all together.
There we go.
Hey, and no offense. I mean, it's the moms. I mean, for me as a dad, man, who changed diapers and was on, it used to be called Amazon Moms, and I sent them a letter like, "How dare you? I'm up here changing, these soiled diapers as much, and I'm the one doing the orders. Diapers.com." So again, the dads as well, but for that distinct group, marketing segment, man, we need to team up on those along with, your images, Reginald, you know what I mean? And help us build our Black owned business, the PDF that you're doing, Ms. Barbara. And isn't that it? That's really what we need to do and be proactive. That is our proactivity in our time seeding ourselves.
The fortunate thing is us as black men, we Black people, we spend the money. I mean, it's the fortunate thing and the unfortunate thing. We spend money.
Yes.
And if we had, so when you're seeing this uptake, it's because we spend the money. We've always spent the money. The bad part is sometimes we spend too much money.
Right. Or we don't spend it with the right
people. That's a whole nother conversation for like the master investor and all those people to come on and help us save more money. But for all of us entrepreneurs, we spend money. Black people spend money. And if they know that they're getting value from people like myself that sell, I sell men's accessories, and I'm a lifestyle brand, they will come to me.
You said you had to go.
Yes. Yeah. I do have to. I honestly, I was scheduled for like 30 minutes, and I'm like, it's an hour and a half later, and I am like, I could stay here all night. One of the things that I say for everybody, like, I'm at Marcus Johnson 360 on Instagram. You use me. Call me, email me, whatever you need from Marcus Johnson 360 for each and every one of you all. Let me know, and not just the musician. It's the lawyer. It's the, business development professor, the MBA, all that kind of stuff. I'm here for you. This is our time. This is what this is all about.
Thank you so much for rolling out news report. Marcus Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Attorney, dad, and phenomenal jazz musician. Thanks so much.
Lastly, I love you all. You all take care.
Love you too, brother.
Right. Take care.
I'll be sending that to you.
So for me, Reggie, the moment, what time do you guys start tomorrow?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. So the movie starts at 9. And it starts at, how'd you decide to pick Ebenezer?
The image. It was all about the image. I mean, that's what I've done. I went to NYU Film School, and I'm just a very visual person, always have been. And I just knew that is the image that I needed, not just for me. The world needs it. My son needs it. He needs to see me and all my fellow brothers out there in front of Ebenezer doing it the right way. I mean, that's what we needed. I mean, my son is 10 years old almost, and all he watches every night is cars burning and people moving up and down the street, and sometimes not in the most pleasant visual way. So
just to recall for people who have just joined, tell them exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it and how it came together real quickly.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm having a walk, like I said, a suited walk of protectors, parents, people just like myself. We all needed come together, but all could get out with what's going on and the way it was happening. We couldn't jeopardize, one, our safety, and two, the way that things were going. I'm sure all of you, can understand once you get to a certain age and you got, kids like myself, that certain things may not be the way that you may need to. And I felt that this was something that I could do. I had other people come to me with, and challenge me when I started with the idea. And when you go to my website, hudsonreginald.com, you can kind of get an understanding of what I present and how I present it. And that was really the challenge. So, everybody wanted me, and they looked at what I do and how I do it to put that visual. And that's what the movement came about. So 9:00 tomorrow at Ebenezer, we're here to change. And we want to let people know that freedom is easily recognizable through us. It's easily recognizable. And we're the true us that's going to be out there tomorrow. We're the nightmare, not the people burning down and looting the stores. People like myself, like the other brother was saying that, he said he's a lawyer in the education and, have gone like myself. I went to Hampton as a HBCU. My mother went to Hampton. My dad went to Hampton. We're the nightmares. We're the ones who can start putting these structures in place. And we're here to say enough is enough.
Well, I want to appreciate you for joining us, but don't forget, you and I got to get back together on these KPIs and these images. I don't want our community to not understand the economic injustice creates even more. Because when we see poverty in our community, it doesn't have to be there if Black businesses were more successful in doing more business with those businesses that do not do business with us. So thanks, Reginald, for coming on. We appreciate you. I look forward to seeing those images. Thanks to Eso Harris for putting us together and being a great journalist and image maker himself. So big ups to Eso. Who we're so proud of as a Rolling Out alum forever. And we appreciate you. So know that we're proud. And I just wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to be on our platform with Rolling Out family. And then let's get Diddy on the phone.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, Barbara. We've got Tyrone here. Tyrone. How are our brothers and sisters doing in Minneapolis?
Man, I tell you what, my man, I'm proud of the South Side. I'm proud of the North Side for collaborating for once and coming together as a community. And the surprising part that not only as the African American is out there, the Caucasian family is out there too, and they join together. And what I've been excited to see our community for once standing up for what they believe in. It's been over 400 years that we continue to be fighting for injustice and talking about those issues, and they act like we don't even exist. And seeing this just happening, it was very dear to me, and I really understood why my grandma sent me here. When you have a platform, especially as an African American,
yeah,
But we're having a little difficulty.
we good to be able to play on the national stage, playing the Super Bowls, and we could talk about what it takes to win Super Bowls and building a team together. But when it's time about political issues, especially when it's talking about Black African Americans, they want to shut your mouth. Well, I'm gonna tell you that we tired, and at the same time, we built this because they couldn't teach us to have that mindset as an African American, because all they seen was hard work and labor for us. Well, we tired of that. We want to own things too. And one thing I was taught by my grandmother, thank God for my grandmother. And the reason I'm so passionate, and I know God got me in this position to do this, because I had to go through some pain to understand what we're trying to go to. And it's 2020, and we still having modern day lynching right beyond our eyes, and they throw the other eye like they don't even see it. And I'm so tired that I started my collegiate level here. I started my professional level in the state of Minnesota. And when I got here, my grandma made me do research. I found out the state of Minnesota, that the population at the time was 4%. 4%. I found out in the history of there, it was a community by the name of that was independently owned by African Americans that didn't need no government. Right there, the government found a way to do the same thing that the country is doing on to other countries, robbing, murdering, stealing, and taking things at the shortcut, or using your authority in the wrong way. Well, let's talk about this issue what got us on this conversation right now. We talked about Colin Kaepernick taking a knee, and they do the magic trick I always say. They not want to talk about the real issues. They want to put something in and say, "Oh, you disrespecting the flag, disrespecting the flag." Well, listen to me. I was the kid to think about why this had to happen to me. Well, let's talk about that. Why we not talking about why he's taking a knee instead of why he's just disrespecting the flag? Well, let's get to Kaepernick. Kaepernick told you guys about police brutality and the injustice that as an African American we've been faced over here for 400 years. Well, guess what? That was 4 years ago. Well, 4 years ago, we got an officer that is a reserve veteran. So he's a military vet. So y'all talking about disrespecting the flag, right? And the African American are doing it. So now you got a police officer that's in the inner city where they know it's probably where more predominant blacks, African American is there. And we got a man that did a technique on a man, kneeled and killed him. And now we looking like, oh, no, we got enough evidence. Is you out of your mind? When are we not going to look at the fact of really what's there? I call that ugly truth. You don't want to hear about it. Everybody want to know the truth. But when it's out there, not, oh, no, that ain't it. It's ugly. No, it's the real deal Holyfield. You either like it or you don't. So with that being said, it made me really open my eyes up to a lot of things here in the state of Minnesota because I started my collegiate level here and my professional level here. Now, seeing what's happening with this issue made me go back to my college. Now, when I went to my college, 6 of my teammates got kicked out of my school for racial situation that happened with an African-American with a white woman. Now, I've looked at it that they said Minnesota is the #1 country with interracial relationship, with mixed culture. How is that possible? But your rules is affecting the African-American. Then I also did some more research when it said about the Indians. The Indians, this their land. They took the Indians' land and they killed them. They wanted to kill all. Then the government, the president at the time would say, hey, you can't kill all them, but you could kill this many. Right there, I'm like, oh. Now I realize we out there fighting to see our golden dream become reality on that football field, giving our all to be better for our family and for better for us. But now when we see here on this state, on this Minnesota soil, they don't care a bitly about us.
Right. And so what is your take about, real quickly, in regards to what's going on in the NFL? There's some major developments in terms of Drew Brees and his stance.
Man, listen to me. You gonna say NFL, right? Do you know
you're going in and out again.
Owners, they all donated $1 million. If you look at a president that never had no president, you hear me? Tell me if you hear me.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Thumbs up or something, man.
No, I hear you now.
Okay, you hear me? Okay, now you talk about the NFL. The NFL has supported the Trump. Everybody know Trump he's supported by the white supremacists, right? So if you're gonna talk about the NFL, hey man, I don't need to talk about them. I already know they're the part of the problem. They're part of the problem too. They see it. Just look at it. We in the state of Minnesota, and your college that's supposed to be a replica of the pro team, correct? I know in my mind, the college supposed to be like the pros. They're trying to get there. But in the end of the day, the college never had an African-American head coach in the history of the program. And then I was a part of the Vikings when Denny Green was there. He was fighting for new facilities. He was fighting for a new stadium. Do you know what they told them? They would never give a black man a new stadium. If you fire him, we'll give a new stadium. And guess what? They fired him. You do the research and see how long it took for them to get another stadium. And that was under Red McComb. Red McComb was one of the racist owner I ever seen in my life. I was so happy to get away from there.
Well, I'm telling you, we need to get your signs, Barbara, in Miss Barbara in Minnesota.
We
Can
can
you
get up
share?
there.
Can you share your sign with Tyrone so he can see the signs that they're using in Chicago?
Yeah, Tyrone. So it's two signs that we did. We did the black owned
Uh-huh.
business sign, and then we got some. So we actually did ship, and we got the do not destroy our black owned business. I actually just got done shipping 100 to Oklahoma. So we actually are willing to take this national. So if people want it and want the presence in their city, they gotta let me know. We want to deal with the people. So I dealt with a gentleman. He works with over 64 black-owned restaurants in Oklahoma. Who knew it was so many sit-down black-owned restaurants in Oklahoma? Who
Right.
knew? So he was saying, I mean, think about the whole thing with Black Wall Street. So he's actually in the process of trying to rebuild that, a gentleman by the name of Apollo. So I shipped to him a couple of days ago 100 signs. So we want the visual to be in other cities and states, because I know if it made that much of an impact here, then that means that other cities, as the gentleman who were on earlier said, we want to see this identity, so we can identify in our community those businesses that are black owned. So I'm willing to do it. I know, Munson, you got the connections, so we can take this to Atlanta.
I got the connection, but I want you to know you have a vision. I
Thank
know that when we have vision as a community, you've got to believe and make sure that you dream big enough.
Yeah, you're right.
You want to make sure that the vision is big. I think that what Brother Carter has continued to express is the history of Minnesota, not repeating that history. But I think we can see that even in what you're doing, Miss Barbara, that there's a huge opportunity for us to come together as a community. And I see what you have as a uniting device for our community to get behind.
Well, I love it. Like you said, we got to just put in the action items behind it. I'm all for it. This is what we do. I'm proud to be a black print manufacturer. And I always tell people we work with everybody, but black businesses are what built us. That's what made us so successful. I've been dealing with Precise for a long time, about 12 of these 14.
Did she get my books on any list?
We'll
Get
get
my
that
books on any list.
taken care of. We'll get that taken care of for you.
We need to make sure the Playful Genius is on every list. Tyrone, you may not know it, but I'm a big toy maker for Black children. So I make children's books and children's toys for Black children called Playful Genius, a whole series called Little Professor Sky, Atom Smart, that's ATOM Smart. And
Oh man.
so, we have that. But I wanted to make sure that before we close, Tyrone, Melvin Carter has been on this national stage.
Melvin Carter has been on national stage. Saying what? I haven't seen him.
Yeah, they have had him on CNN and MSNBC talking about St. Paul. What is the status of St. Paul?
Man, I tell you what, man. See, I'm mainly in Minneapolis, and I'm mainly in Minneapolis. St. Paul is a whole totally different ball game. They got a lot of things going on there, and the people's tired, and that's why you see so much killing. You know, they know what's going on. They're not doing anything. The police is targeting those guys, those gangs, and they coming at them, man. Man, it's unbelievable for me to see. After I start playing, I come back here. They see my jersey number. They see the helmet on my head with the logo on it. It's a different approach. But now when I'm in the city without the helmet, without the jersey, I get that same thing. As an African-American, I get it. Racial profiling like a sun gun. And the main factor is, oh my God, God is good. We marched down St. Paul. And I want to give my big sister, Nakimi 11 pounds Armstrong, she had the brilliant idea to come up with going to St. Paul to the Capitol. And after we're done with the Capitol, giving our demands and walking down 94, we shut that thing down, a peaceful protest, a peaceful stint that making it through there. In that process, the community came together. They joined forces and letting them know that we will not stop till we get what we deserve. We here. That was a movement that shifts in Minnesota that really gives me the understanding what I told y'all about Rondo. Rondo was happening in St. Paul. That was a community that independently owned, didn't need the government for nothing. But you got that divide and conquer, and then the government with all their policies and issues, oh, we need a highway. Now they got opportunities to pass laws that let them divide us and conquer us, knowing that the key. And in the process of that, if it hasn't been a community that strong again, they took over. They gained control, just like the United States. The United States is a robber. The United States is a murderer. The United States is they use their power and abuse their authority. So when my grandma told me crap run downhill, that's what that means. If our government is led by power and don't worry about a life, what you think about an organization or a state or the country? It's the same implement. And we are ran by police force that has the same criteria of a military vote. They run their system exactly like the military. That's why most of the military guys, when they get out of the military, they become police officers. Look at it. They own the force. So if they run the force, they are ordered. We have trained killers that's protecting us. You kill somebody and don't have a feeling about it? Come on, man. I was always taught 3 things. And those 3 things was this: the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. See it, believe it, and work for it daily. And lastly,
Take your time, brother.
it's tough, man. For a man to a man, when you hear another man say mama, call out his mama, and you don't do anything about it, and then you got 3 cowards holding them down, man, that's systematic. That's a part of their system. Mm-hmm. I got certified to be a cop in the state of Minnesota. I'm finna get sworn in. I look to my right, look to my left. I see none of my color. Then I see the woman as a male walk up. No disrespect to a woman. I truly believe that for this world to change, we need a woman in that chair. Because only a woman can make decisions, multiply, do things. We can't as a knucklehead, as a man. We got too much testosterone. We got that anger. We want to be, we got too much. We got too much. So what I'm saying, it hurted me so much. It made me reflect back on when I first got here, what happened in my college, when I got drafted, what happened in Minnesota. The cops here was so crazy when it came down to African Americans and when it came down to athletes. Look up the story. Look it up. I got here in 95. Look up 95 to 2003 and look at it. You got the issue where you had Randy Moss. They said a ticket woman said that he hit her. He did hit her. I was there. She jumped on his car.
Yeah,
they have always did that to us. I go back to Minnesota. They want to be the first one to come out publicly talking about, yeah, I'm supporting the cause. I didn't like that. We throwing them out. Yeah, that was a clean cut video that you seen that everybody was able to make their own conclusions because it was video. Well, the University of Minnesota had video. They chose not to use the video. And guess what they do? They lynched 10 African-American young men that they're going to have to deal with this rape charge for the rest of their lives. When it wasn't rape, it was the ugly truth. They don't want to embarrass this white girl that orchestrated the whole thing. They didn't want to see that their daughter that got, they so being embarrassed about their daughter is having orgies with all these 5 guys. But the ugly truth was this. It was a minor in there. That young girl was 22 years old. I told them then, you got a situation right there where you could tell those parents, there was a participant, just like the Minneapolis Police Department did. They threw it out. But no, you chose to listen to those parents and say their parents gonna sue you guys. So guess what you do? You do something that you always did at your university. Hung African-American athletes at that school. Do your research. We never had an African-American football program, and any university is ran by the football program. They fed. So if
Well, we've got 6 more minutes, everybody. So I need a
big program that's feeder. The first African American. You say what's that?
I need everybody to encourage our community. We've got a minute for everybody who's on this panel. And I need a minute of positive thought so we can continue. This is not the time to stand down. This is the time to stand up.
Exactly.
If you have not done, if you haven't got out, if you need to know how to support from your house, this is that moment. So I'll start with you, Terry Shropshire.
I was just looking back at, I'm a historical aficionado. So I love history. I look at it and I see certain years, certain periods, certain points in time where you see things shift permanently. 1920, Marcus Garvey, 1965, Voting Rights Act, 1968, when Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy were assassinated. There were certain times where it just changed and it took another direction and it took another shape. This is one of those times. 2020 is one of those times in history that we're going to look back and people are going to say 2020 was just like 1968 or 1965 or 1960 or 1920. This is the time, and you want to be a part of it. I'm excited and then the epidemic with the police brutality. I'm excited because this is a time we can enact change, permanent, lasting, viable change. And you don't want to be on the sidelines of this. You want to be on the right side of history. So get involved. It don't matter what you do. You ain't got to march. You can be like Miss Barbara, make some signs. You can be like Precise, take some pictures. You can be like me, write. You can be like Mustard Steve, make some toys, write some books. Do something.
All right. We're gonna go to you, Miss Barbara.
Well, I mean, I just piggyback off what Terry said. Now is the time. I do feel the same way. 2020 is just something been different about it. Everybody thought it was going to be different, but it's actually a benefit to us. My biggest thing is, like I said, I think people need to get involved, but they need to really pay attention with the corporations and things that we looted and all of that stuff. You really hurt them by not supporting them financially. So yeah, you can bust their windows, you can do different things, but it's really about the long term. So I just want our community to be in it for the long game. Don't just get tricked by what may happen now. And people are saying, oh, I'm gonna donate, I'm gonna do that. You gotta hold these big companies' feet to the fire from now on. If they're not giving back, if they're not supporting you in the community, you do not need to support them. That looting, we saw some of these places, and again, I didn't agree with it, but they're opening it back up within a week or two. Yep. What really affects them is the pockets. And I think somebody talked about that. African Americans spend money. They know our money is valuable. That's where change happens. We have to be able to hold it. We think about the Montgomery boycott. It was more about financially that we impacted them. That's what made them change. It wasn't about the social justice. So I just want to make sure that people see this now, stay engaged in the long term. Got to spend money locally with businesses. We are a perfect example of that. We're doing this not because but because of something that somebody pushed us to do. We conscious, we're in the community. We employ people that look like us. We're doing initiatives that look like us. We're donating, we're printing signs, we're doing different things. So when you support Black businesses, when you support people that look like you, that's how the agenda moves forward. Having somebody like me powerful in a successful company, having people like you all that are successful, we can push that narrative forward. So that's what I would say, just people doing the same thing, but let's not just start it. Let's not just do it now, but let's continue to do that.
Don't forget your last quote. Remember the new quote you got?
I didn't forget the new quote. Black businesses create Black payroll.
Yeah.
It was a little bit more, I got my notes over here. I was writing a lot of things down. I'm a note taker. Getting pride in an absence of it. I love the fact that you said that. But yes, Black businesses create Black payroll. I think it's the most simplified way that we can say it, because we talk about economic impact with Black businesses all the time. But if people see that, we're keeping people employed. Doing all of this stuff that happened with COVID, we kept our people employed as much as we could, and we continue to do that. We continue to support the Black businesses around us because we knew we had to. And you're not going to get that from a corporation that doesn't know you, doesn't identify you, and doesn't understand your community.
All right, you got 1 minute, Tyrone.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. And for the community, I'll tell you one thing. If you're African American and you home, I don't think you understand what's going on. This movement is happening and you should be a part of it. It's revolutionary that's coming on right now. And bringing your community together, doing what it takes. And that's what calls a family. And for us to take this next step and accept what God has presented for us, because it's a change. I tell you, it's a change. We talk about a pandemic over a pandemic, but anytime destruction, my grandma always said there's some light at the end of the tunnel. And we made a movement here in Minnesota, whether they like it or not, they hearing our voice, everything is happening. And like that queen said, what are we going for the long haul? Don't just plan for just right now. We got to make sure we continue to defending each other and having each other back like a family should, and keep it going, because that divide and conquer will always change what you're trying to do. So I appreciate you having me. And like I said, for us to continue to make that walk and change things from what been embedded for us for over 400 years, we got to continue to be that leader, not get in that position and stop. That means we got to get in that vote. We got to make sure our vote count too, not just sitting there looking for dollars at the same time, orchestrating that. So I appreciate you having me. I'm going to stand firm. I'm going to keep fighting till God continue to take my breath away from me, because now I played my life, accomplishing goals, proving this I can accomplish it. Now I'm chasing lives, saving lives. They're building more prisons than schoolhouses for a reason. They can build them. We ain't got to fill them. And that's what I do with my TC Elite.
Word up. That's another shirt right there.
That is. I love that.
All right, Eddie.
Wow. This is a powerful moment right here. And just to really just join everybody else in acknowledging this moment and this movement. And the most important thing that we have to do in the movement is to move and also be present in this moment. So whatever happened yesterday was yesterday. And whatever is going to happen in the future, we're planning in this moment. So it's important for us to stay present, stay focused, positive, and productive.
Well, thank you all for joining Rolling Out News Hour. I want to thank you for being a part. I would like to close just saying to everybody who is out there, who will see this, who will ever experience it, in each and every person, there's a movement. Move. Each person move with principle. Move. Let us rid ourselves with special collective individuals. We don't need individuals representing us. We need principles. We need principles that measure and ask for transparency on the economic business opportunities. And we want from every business that receives $1 from us to understand that they now have an economic obligation to do business with the businesses in our community. And we expect the CEOs, the CMOs, and the boards of these corporations to begin to request meetings with individuals who aren't celebrities, but business people. Mm-hmm. So if you've got a printing job, if you got a media department, an accounting department, a lawyer, a PR firm, we anticipate that you will be utilizing our services, and we're demanding. Absolutely. Thank you very much for Rolling Out News Report. We'll see you all soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for inviting me too.
Thank you, brother.
Y'all take care, Queen.